This is the story of Maggie and Max, two beloved innocent dogs who were tragically and fatally caught in a scandalous web of systemic corruption woven by the Racing Queensland organisation and involving the Gympie Regional Council, the RSPCA, law enforcement, and even the legal system. Wrongfully deemed as dangerous dogs and impounded for an incredible 4 years before finally being ordered for destruction, Maggie and Max were the victims of intimidation and harassment set upon their owners Price Hill and Kate Mitchell by the Gympie Regional Council. The Gympie Council, however, is just one tentacle of an all-encompassing system of corruption with the power to crush any dissidents posing a threat to its foundations. And it was the preservation of this very autocracy that ultimately led to the heartbreaking fate of these cherished animals. So how did Maggie and Max become embroiled in such an enormous scandal? And what does it have to do with Racing Queensland? The story begins with animal chiropractor Doc Jamieson, known to his patients and their owners as Doc. Since 1977, garnering a reputation as the most skilled and compassionate animal chiropractic specialist in Australia, Doc's stewardship and love for animals, as well as his unique gift for healing them, was then and remains today legendary. But Doc's life hasn't been all adoration and praise. Beginning his career in the Greyhound racing industry from a young age, over the course of his career, Doc became privy to the full scope of corruption within the industry. Animal blooding, mass greyhound killings, race fixing, racing board stewards and other officials concealing their ownership of greyhounds under false names. These are the people who are supposed to regulate the industry to keep it clean and above board, engaging in blatant conflicts of interest. Standing to gain considerable profit, corrupt racing officials not only turn a blind eye to the cruel practices of animal blooding and greyhound training, they are also knowingly complicit in planned race-fixing practices, such as doping, nobbling, manipulation of starting box arrangement, as well as many other forms of performance enhancement and sabotage, all as part of a highly successful enterprise of controlling the outcomes of races. The perpetrators all sit in prominent positions of power among the board officials of Racing Queensland, with connections to corrupted individuals hidden within government and councils, industry regulation, law enforcement, and of course the legal system. Race fixing in the greyhound racing industry is not a rare or infrequent occurrence. It is the norm. It is a highly profitable enterprise where the vast majority of those responsible for keeping the industry sanitized all have their finger in the pie. Starting out working from the inside, Doc Jamieson has made it his life's work to expose every level of corruption in greyhound racing and clean up the industry. Thus, the Phoenix Taskforce was born, an organisation conducting non-profit private investigations for the public on animal cruelty and wrongdoings in the greyhound racing industry. As CEO of the Phoenix Taskforce Administration Services, throughout the course of his career, Doc has accumulated over 52,000 documents of damning evidence, incriminating offenders at every level of the industry and its connections. As the only meaningful voice for the animals suffering in the industry, Doc has pursued every possible path to attain justice, reporting to every official authority and submitting his evidence through every conceivable channel, even reaching out to the media to help prompt investigation. After realising that Doc was a force to be reckoned with as the single biggest threat to their lucrative race-fixing enterprise, the greyhound racing industry with its broad reach and associations tried every form of dissuasion at its disposal. From attempted bribes, intimidation and harassment, to poisoning his animals, vandalising his clinics, damaging his property, equipment and vehicles, to false inquiries and lawsuits, assassination attempts, and even inserting people into Doc's life to get close and sabotage his efforts from the inside. For the most part, Doc's relentless filing of reports and submissions of evidence have been ignored, given the runaround, or have been swept under the rug. For Doc, it's been an ongoing, lifelong marathon of epic proportions, but somehow he survived it all and has never given up. Along the way, Doc did manage to make some trustworthy connections, and one of those was his friendship with Price Hill. From the beginning, Doc and Price hit it off with instant rapport. With their shared passion for the racing industry, Doc and Price, a gifted horse trainer, became good friends. Over the years, Price was slowly exposed to the truth of the racing industry and began to take interest in Doc's fight for justice. Price decided to help Doc by hiding some of Doc's evidence on his property at Gympie at a time when Doc was under heavy fire from the industry. Then, when it came time to relocate the evidence and knowledge that Price had helped Doc by caretaking his evidence became public, that's when things started to take a turn for the worse. Early one morning in 2017, Maggie and Max had somehow escaped their property. Coincidentally, that same morning, Price and Kate's neighbour's dog Boof was found dead, a bloody, mutilated mess on an adjoining property where Maggie and Max were seen nearby. Based on proximity alone, Maggie and Max were immediately seized by the Gympie Council, declared to be Boof's killers, and impounded at the RSPCA. What followed was a very long and highly unusual string of events that brought the legitimacy of Maggie and Max's impoundment strongly into question. The circumstances surrounding Maggie and Max's escape were highly suspicious. It was not the first time Maggie and Max had mysteriously escaped the property, and this hadn't begun to happen until relations between Price, his father Bob, and Price's brother had begun to break down after a racing horse investment dispute. A series of domestic disputes and suspicious incidents followed. A trespassing altercation with Price's brother on Price and Kate's property, Bob displaying his scorn and resentment with malicious online comments, causing trouble at Price and Kate's place of work, and baseless complaints to the council about Maggie and Max. The racehorse being mysteriously drugged and coming up positive for a drug test. Maggie and Max beginning to frequently escape their property in the early hours of the morning, getting into trouble on several occasions despite Price and Kate's impeccable fencing, gating and protocols. And Bob being witnessed corralling the fence line around Price and Kate's yard during the night, taunting Maggie and Max, including on the night of Maggie and Max's escape and subsequent seizure by the council. Now with a history of complaints established by Bob, the Gympie Council was swift in declaring Maggie and Max's regulated dog status, despite that the neighbour's dead dog's body was a mutilated, bloody mess, and that there was not a single stitch of blood to be found on Maggie or Max at the scene.
That day, Rogers said, we're going to come in and do an interview. We ended up agreeing to go in there, and when we were in the room, he started flicking through his folder, and I actually happened to see a photo that he had.
Mm-hmm.
I said, woo. I said, show me that photo again. Oh, no. And I said, no, show me the photo. I said, that's of the dogs.
Yeah.
And I had a look at the photo, and Maggie never had a stitch of blood on her, right?
Well, she would have blood on her if she's killed a dog, wouldn't she?
Well, you'd think so.
Yeah.
And, where the dog was laying there dead, there was a photo of it there dead, and there was just blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Blood everywhere.
Price and Kate were served with a regulatory compliance order to further increase the security of their property, but they disputed the order as their security was already impeccable, demanding for their dog's return and threatening legal action against the council. The Gympie Council then issued the destruction order for Maggie and Max, after which Price and Kate had no choice but to dispute the decision through QCAT, the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal. It was during this time that Price and Kate began to suspect foul play. So they reached out to Doc and asked him to conduct a private investigation into Maggie and Max's impoundment. Unfortunately, there was nothing Doc could do to get inside the RSPCA where Maggie and Max were being held, unless there was some kind of injury involved requiring his expertise. For 3 years, Maggie and Max remained impounded at the RSPCA, and then finally in August of 2020, the matter found its way into a tribunal. The Gympie Council had pieced together a flimsy case of assumptions based on stretching dubious witness testimonies to connect with tenuous conjecture. On the other hand, the case which Price and Kate had assembled was strongly corroborated and by its own merits more than capable of conquering the council's weak speculations. However, QCAT sided with the council and confirmed the destruction order. Bemused but undeterred, Price and Kate contested the decision and the matter was then moved into an appeal. While Price and Kate worked to build their case for the appeal, they were approached by Peter Boyce of Butler McDermott Lawyers regarding a property dispute with Bob. Peter was the solicitor who had worked on Doc's defamation suit in 2008 against the Chiropractic Board of Queensland and the Racing Queensland organisation. At the time, Peter provided grossly misleading information to Doc, which lost him the case. Doc appealed the case, and because no lawyers in Australia would represent him, Doc represented himself and won the right to sue. Doc later learned that Peter was a lifetime member of Racing Queensland, a blatant conflict of interest. When Price and Kate informed Doc of their new legal advisor, and Doc enlightened them to his history, it became ever more clear that Maggie and Max's prolonged impoundment was an orchestrated attack by Racing Queensland on Price and Kate's livelihoods in response to their working with Doc.
Peter Boyce, he run once I was involved, didn't he?
Oh, no, that's when all the shit started. He gave us a bill, and then we were questioning it and said we wanted to have it assessed. His bill was fucking 17,000, then it went to 24,000 or 21,000.
That's right, yeah.
Because we were questioned and said, get it done,
Yep.
and it came back to 7,000
Yep.
when it was assessed, and then he goes, oh, just pay that amount. We went, get fucked.
Yeah, and that's why he's gone, mate. Well, you know, he come in and sabotaged my case with the chiropractic board, and then when I saw him coming in as your barrister, that's why I stepped in and said, you got to get rid of him. He's with Racing Queensland.
He's not the only one. My mate Davey said the same thing. He said that this barrister turned around and said, don't get Peter Boyce, he's a crook. Yeah. Just like that.
Yeah, I know, mate. I've witnessed it, eh? Well, you know, I went back and got all these records seized, and he paid the money back within 24 hours. I'm not finished with him, because at that stage, when he's acting for me for Racing Queensland and the Chiropractic Board of Australia, I didn't know he was a board member of Racing Queensland and a life member, conflict of interest. So I'm going back now for my money back, and I want compensation.
Yeah.
It's filthy, mate. The law in Queensland is filthy.
Filthy, all right.
It is.
By April of 2021, Maggie's health had deteriorated badly. A large lipoma had formed on one of her legs, and she had begun to show lameness in her rear. At long last, after 4 years of waiting, Doc finally had an opportunity to get inside the RSPCA and get an inside view of what was going on. Doc visited several times over the course of more than a month to treat Maggie and Max. After a preposterous 4 years of captivity, even RSPCA staff had remarked at the dwindling health of both dogs, as well as the highly unusual circumstances surrounding their impoundment.
Yeah, women's leg's pretty bad, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and we've kept her on bed rest.
Yeah. How long ago did she have that last year?
Yeah. We've organised with council twice for her to go to the vet to get it checked out. The second time, the appointment was cancelled.
Why?
We don't know.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
When would that have been?
So yeah, first appointment was November.
November last year, yeah.
Yeah. January was the next appointment, and that's the one that was cancelled.
You're kidding, and what are we now, mate?
Yeah.
So she suffered all that time?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me, eh?
No, that's, yeah. I think that's why Deb, the vet that's been coming up, has been pushing so much to get it done, because she just can't understand why it's been left for so long.
Oh, so she has been pushing to get her looked at?
Yep, she comes up every week and checks them out, and she's straight on the phone to Dan, sends emails through. She goes, look, we need to get something done for these guys, for both of them.
Wow, and how long has that been going on?
For the last 2 months.
That's incredible, mate.
So,
it's
yeah.
Not called for, is it?
No, that's what we can't understand,
And there's a lot more going on behind these dogs, because the guy that owns them, he was hiding evidence on corruption in Racing Queensland.
Yeah.
And he was a target.
Yeah.
See, so there's a little bit, you probably know there's more behind it. It's not, it wouldn't be a normal case, would it?
No, it's not, it's been
ongoing cover-ups.
Yeah.
According to the Queensland Animal Management Act 2008, there are clear and strict requirements for the handling and management of regulated dogs, such as muzzling and strict leash and/or tethering protocol. But for Maggie and Max, none of these were being implemented. As witnesses who accompanied Doc during the treatments can attest, the dogs were unmuzzled, unleashed, and left unattended for all of Doc's visits. It was clear that the RSPCA had no concern for the regulated dog handling compliance of Maggie and Max. As a condition of Maggie and Max's regulated status, the Gympie Council's chief investigator for the case, Dan Rogers, was required to be present for any treatment provided by Doc to Maggie and Max at the RSPCA.
The dogs are in the pound, they're not in the RSPCA.
Yep.
They're impounded.
Yep.
Okay, that's why this needs to be supervised.
Yep.
However, Dan's presence served for little more than a meet and greet formality at the beginning of visits, with Dan leaving Doc unattended for practically the entirety of every treatment. During the first visit, Doc had opportunity to discuss with Dan the true motives behind the scenes of Maggie and Max's prolonged impoundment. Doc offered Dan a sample copy of the evidence Price and Kate had been holding, which included incriminating evidence against the RSPCA colluding with Racing Queensland.
John Jamieson, mate.
John, nice understand.
Got to treat Maggie and
Righto.
Max. I sent you an email. Did you get that?
I did get it. I thought you were going to ring me. Arrange a time.
Right, I'll just come here.
The problem with that is you were only told by Kate,
Yep.
not by council.
Yeah,
So
well, I
that-
sent you an email yesterday, mate, and I'm coming from Coffs Harbour to here.
Okay, I'm
So I'm
here.
doing my job, you're doing
Okay,
your job.
okay, just listen to me.
Yeah.
The dogs are in the pound. They're not in the RSPCA.
Yep.
They're impounded.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, that's why this needs to be supervised.
Yeah, that's fine, mate. I'm doing
But-
my job, you're doing
Okay,
yours.
but hold on.
I don't
Yep.
work for you.
No,
Or you don't work for me.
no.
Right? We're
But
both doing the
No,
job.
I can ask you to leave. What I'm saying is you need to make an appointment. Okay?
What time did you email me when you knocked off work?
I didn't email you yesterday.
Oh,
at
who
all.
did?
Kate.
Right, from you.
I emailed her and
Okay.
I said, you get your person
Right.
that you want
Well, I
to
was
take
on
the
the
dog.
road.
Listen,
Yep.
listen to me. I asked her, I said, you need to get your person to make an appointment.
Well, it was on the email.
No, there was nothing
Between
on
10 and...
No, she can't dictate to us.
No,
I can't drop
your
it.
officer's got it, mate. I put through the office. The girl just...
Listen to me, listen.
Yeah, listen, I don't work for you, mate.
I know you don't.
All right?
I
So
know.
don't talk to me like as I'm one of your workers, because I'm not.
I'm not. I'm talking
All right.
to you.
I've come up from Coffs Harbour. I'm not going to be bullied or intimidated,
I'm not
because I haven't got much faith on the councils anyway, mate, what I've
I
seen.
fully understand that.
So let's just do the job so I can go back and do
Okay,
my other
but
job.
what I'm telling you is, if you want to come back and treat the dogs
Yep.
again, you need to ring me and
All
make
right.
an appointment. Because I'm going out of my way now to help you.
Yep, and I come from Coffs Harbour.
Okay.
To help
I've come
the
a long
dogs.
way as
That's
well.
what I've come
I'm
for.
telling you what today has been put on us, both of us,
Mm.
by Kate
Yeah,
Mitchell.
well,
I'm here
but,
to help
you know,
you today.
yeah.
Not her.
Yeah,
I'm here
yeah.
to help you.
Yeah, I'm
Right,
here to
because
help
you're-
Maggie.
because
and
you're trying to
Max,
make a
that's
dollar.
right. Well, no, it's not about the dollars.
Well,
it's
it
about
is-
saving the animals, mate. You know,
So
that's what I do.
the reason they're here
I save animals, yeah.
is because they're being impounded. They're regulated as dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay. And once they were regulated as dangerous, they escaped and killed another dog.
Someone could have let them out as well, because, you know, Pricey and Kate, they were sitting on a lot of evidence on corruption in racing Queensland. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, see, and that could be another way the dogs were being let out, because he was being targeted and Kate was being targeted. So that'd be why their back would be up with you, you know, not knowing whether you're supporting racing Queensland or not, you know what I mean? So there's a little bit more to it.
Oh, there's always more to it.
Yeah. And it was all about bloody race fixing and all that by board stewards. And this goes back to, well, maybe 2008, see?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff where you probably don't even know about that.
No.
See, so you know how some people, you can meet them and they're really pissed off, but you don't actually know what's happened.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
to, you know, in their life. But there is something bigger behind it, and it's got to do, because he was hiding evidence. What if, I'll give you a USB next week with some stuff and have a look, mate. Hey, you reckon you've seen stuff before, you wait until you see this.
Yeah, right.
Dan accepted the offer, signing for the receipt of the evidence package upon Doc's next visit. However, a week later, Dan displayed a complete attitude reversal and returned the package to Doc, fervently stating that he did not wish to view the evidence for fear of being obliged to take investigative action on any corruption he might otherwise have seen.
I haven't even looked at it. I felt wrong about taking it. So I don't know. I'm just not comfortable.
How big is
I just don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if there's something in there, because I'm the sort of guy that if I see something in there that I actually think is wrong, then I'll actually have to do something about
But
it.
isn't that good, mate? That's why I gave it to you, to have a...
I know. I know, but
That's
it's
what
not.
we- that's
It's not my
people-
job. It's
Yeah.
not, do you know what I mean?
Isn't it all our jobs, mate?
I haven't read anything.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll get you to sign that one for me to say I've returned it to you.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, sure.
I just said return unopened, not viewed.
I can't sign that, Dan, because I don't know whether you have looked at it, you know?
No,
You know? But just give it back to me.
Well, you got to sign something and say you've got it back.
Oh, yeah, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So when I handed this over to Dan Rogers, I made sure it was staple, but when this come back, you can see there, it's missed the page, and I'm very thorough in what I do, and that one there is only just catching as well. So all right, so that's definitely been looked at.
the same day of Doc's first visit to the RSPCA, Price and Kate had entered their horse, Katie's Cash, into a race at the Gatton Racecourse. It was during their travel to the racecourse when yet another opportunity for harassment was taken advantage of. Price and Kate had to make multiple stops along the way to secure the horse float curtain which had come loose and was upsetting the horse on the road. Upon entering the township of Gatton, Price and Kate were accosted by police attempting to engage them in a traffic stop.
Police went past after they were trying to peer into the car, like really trying to look into the car.
See who's driving?
Yeah. And then I seen the lights come on.
Right, okay.
And they spun around, and I was just coming onto the roundabout. Before I even knew it, they were right up the back of the float. Had the lights on and sounding the siren and that, and I'm going, well, I can't pull over here.
Cleared the horse up, eh?
Yeah, I can't bloody pull over here because there's a roundabout to start with, and then we had to go up over that overpass, heading towards Gatton. There's nowhere to pull up there. So I just kept going, and I thought, well, we're nearly at the race club, so we may as well just do it all there if I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
They're sounding the siren and everything else, and I was sort of just trying to pull over a bit so they could come up beside me and go past me. Because I didn't know whether they were chasing me or they were on a job. And I couldn't get off the road because at Gatton there, going in to Gatton is that bloody all black soil, all the farms.
Yeah,
all
I
that.
know.
And they just had all that bloody pissy rain and
Yep.
not level ground.
Yep.
Anyway, I wasn't pulling off there, so I just sort of kept on the road, and I wasn't getting off the road, but I was making sure I was getting off the road a bit so they could go past if they need to, because I couldn't really get off the road. Kept going in, and then we got to the 2 lanes before the traffic lights, the major intersection, and I pulled over to the left-hand side, and I wound my window down, and they came up, but they wouldn't go past. They sat back, and I sort of said, I'm going to the track, the racetrack. I yelled out to them, I'm going to the racetrack. I'll pull up there where it's safe, because I've got the horse on and that.
Which is not far anyway.
No, it wasn't. I kept going, and they were just yelling and screaming and saying, you've had opportunities, you should have pulled over, blah, blah, blah. And I yelled out, it's unsafe. Got to the traffic lights, there was a red light. He's pulled up behind, and one of the officers got out of the car and came around to my side of the car, the driver's side, and grabbed the door handle to open the door handle. Pulling up in the middle of an intersection, look what happened to them 4 bloody coppers in Melbourne.
Exactly.
You know, before they know it, they've been run over and they're dead.
As was highly uncharacteristic of police in the area to be unconcerned of the need for safety in towing a horse float, particularly so near to the Gatton Racecourse, the police displayed a complete disregard for the safety or well-being of the horse.
Yes, sir. Stop the car, mate.
I will up here. I have no worries.
Turn the car off now.
I can't. We cannot turn the car off in an unsafe area.
It's safe now. We're behind you.
It's unsafe. It is unsafe.
Mate, get out of the car.
It is
We will
unsafe.
stop up here.
Up here, mate.
Up here.
1.5 kilometres. I'm pulled over for you.
With horse float in tow and an upset horse on board, Price had nowhere to safely pull over until reaching the racecourse. But the police continued blaring their siren for almost 5 kilometres, causing even more panic to the horse. Once Price was able to stop safely, his first concern was the safety and settling of his horse. Completely unconcerned with safety, the police caused the commotion, upsetting the horse further, and aggressively arrested Price, leaving his partner Kate, a woman of barely 50 kilograms, to handle an upset 600-kilogram animal in a state of panic. Due to the negligence of police, Kate was injured while trying to manage the horse.
Kate's screaming, she's upset because of the horse was starting to play up in the float because she could see the commotion. There was other people there with horses, and part of the day Kate was then trying to get the headgear on the horse, and they'll put me in the car, and Kate was even begging with them to just let me get the horse off.
Yeah.
Look, you're putting this lady in a... You are, mate.
Help me from
Here. Yes, please.
And in that commotion, Kate got hurt with her hand getting the horse off the float, and then someone else ran over to help with the situation. They couldn't believe that the police were doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
You know, she's 50 kilos dealing with a 600 kilo animal.
Exactly, yep.
And usually I'm there to assist with all the safety aspects of it all. And they just made it an absolute unsafe and unrealistic event.
Fortunately, there were race stewards nearby who rushed in to help Kate with the horse while Price was arrested and taken away. The stewards were shocked at the behaviour of the police, remarking that usually police were respectful for the need for safety with handling horses, and in such a situation would usually wait patiently for horses to be unloaded and settled before dealing with the purpose of the traffic stop.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
really do.
They were good guys?
They were good boys, mate. They could not believe what the police did.
Yeah.
What surprised me was that a few people that I knew at the racetrack, that licensees, they rung me the next day just to make sure I was all right, as well as Kate, because she was just
A mess.
actually a mess. She didn't sleep that night.
Yeah.
She was just
Yeah,
traumatised
understandable,
big
yeah.
time. And they said, what the hell was going on, you know? And I said, well, apparently I was arrested for speeding. And I said, I wasn't arrested. There's no charge sheet, there's no nothing. I've just got a little piece of paper saying that I've got to appear in court.
Which,
If it was speeding, it was speeding. That's what I couldn't
ticket.
understand.
They write
A
out.
ticket.
No.
And that's what a lot of the
And-
licensees said to me was, if that was speeding, usually we just say that we're going to the racetrack, we'll be right there, and they follow them to the racetrack. You give them your name and that, and they write the ticket out, and then they're on their way, and everybody's moving forward.
And what got me was where you said that they looked hard into the car. That's what they had done before to me, to see who's driving.
Yeah.
You know? Because if it was just a speed, you'd look at the vehicle, do a rego check,
Yeah.
and then pull the person over, or if not, you're going to the track. You're not running away, you've got the horse on board.
Rather than process Price at the local police station in Gatton, police transported Price to the Toowoomba Police Station watchhouse, where he was held for several hours and later released with a handwritten court summons to appear for the charges of speeding, failing to stop, and obstruction.
We get to about half, I don't know how far it is to Toowoomba from Gatton, but we get to about halfway and there's a Nissan Patrol wagon sitting on the side of the road. They happened to pull up, turn around and face the patrol, and they were waving the officer who was sitting in the car by himself, waved him over to come over and assist or do something. And next minute the three of them got me out of the car. I said, what are you doing? Oh, and they said, oh, we're just correcting the handcuffs. So they put another set of handcuffs on me, so I had 2 sets of handcuffs on me. Then they started searching me pockets and everything else, and I said, what are you doing? And they're going, we're just doing a search. And I said, why do you need to search? I've got nothing on me other than a phone and a couple $100.
Would have done it back at the police station in front of other cops.
That's right. I said,
it wouldn't have been hard because of all the evidence that you've been holding against the corruption racing queen, and that it wouldn't be hard to put drugs in your pocket.
oh, well, that was sort of worrying me. And I was sort of dumbfounded as to why they were searching me on the side of the road, where it was actually probably a bit unsafe.
Yeah.
They took one set of handcuffs off me, the ones that were tight, and then they put the other ones on, which didn't make any bloody difference. They were still just as tight. Anyway, I told them that, and they're going, no, it's loose. They just didn't want to have a bar of it. And they put me back in the car, and we ended up at the Toowoomba watch house.
With no transport, Price was left to find his own way back to Kate and his horse some 40 kilometres away. On the surface, the events surrounding Price's arrest appeared to be unrelated to Maggie and Max's impoundment. However, as Doc could attest, with his decades of experience in being harassed by authorities, the timing of Price's arrest on the day when his horse was entered into a race, the removal of Price from the racecourse some 40 kilometres away with no transport back to Gatton, and the uncharacteristic and aggressive behaviour of the police, as well as their complete disregard for safety, were all well-established tactics of intimidation characteristic of racing Queensland.
76 and an 8 and a 68. That's speeding. And I've even got it on the phone, videoing it. What were you speeding for, sir? It's alright for you to book me for speeding, apparently. It'd be alright for me to book you.
They really tried their best to stop me from going to the track, and that's right. That's what really worries me.
Because remember what I've uncovered: board stewards, board members rigging races.
Yeah.
So the last thing, you've always been a threat as a rank outsider because you're a good trainer and you love your horses and you prepare them properly and all that. You know, they've got to look at ways of stopping you. And the only way, really, is stop you from getting to the track. Yeah. Which that's happened to me before. You know, I've got all the recordings, I've got the video footage and all that. That's why I said to you, be careful on your way there that you're not being followed.
Yeah, right.
Because of all the evidence of the corruption that you've hid for me against Racing Queensland.
Actually, that was here for a while.
Yeah, so I felt that you could have been a target because last time you was up there, Showa Flick won at 151 to 1, and that was a memorial race.
Yeah,
so they never expected you to win.
Yeah.
And again, on Friday, you wanted Barrier 1, and your horse was, well, in the papers, was 40 to 1, but at any cost they tried to stop you like they did with me through my racing, because we're bringing out the truth about Racing Queensland and their government connections just to make it fair for everyone. Yeah. So I feel there was more behind it, that the games are starting again because I'm coming out with the evidence now, which is being surfaced. And let's now bring the evidence of the corruption that you got into the judge and show the judge that this has got to be dealt with now.
Yeah.
The following is a conversation between Price and the Gatton Police Sergeant Prosecutor for Price's case to arrange for a hearing.
Okay, the hearing won't be going ahead today. I am seeking an adjournment. The second charge of failure to a stop will be upgrading that to an evade offence.
So if you can prove beyond reasonable doubt, you go right ahead.
I will, and I can.
Okay, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for wasting my time.
Well, you have
I
to
will
turn
be.
up.
I'll turn up. I'll turn up for sure,
You turn up
and I
at
will
12.
be pursuing costs against you. The whole report. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, we'll see.
Can't.
Yeah, we'll see.
You're not even a lawyer. You can't.
I don't have to be. I can.
Oh, well, what a blood at your ass, mate.
Excuse
You can't
me.
do it.
I beg your pardon?
You can't do
Blow it
that.
out of my ass.
Yeah, mate.
I know your name, and I'm
No,
taking
you
it.
don't actually.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I'll be suing you, so don't
So
you
you
worry.
better go in there at 12 o'clock.
I'll be suing you, don't worry.
Well, you bloody well stop blabbering and listen to me. Go in there at
I will
12
be
o'clock and
suing
we're
you.
going to adjourn it.
I'll be suing you.
I don't
You could
care
have
that.
rung me and said you're
Have
going to
you
adjourn.
just listen to what I just said? Get in there at 12 o'clock. We're adjourning it.
Excuse me,
and
you
there'll
don't
be
direct
another-
me to do nothing.
Oh, God. Just be there at 12.
In the lead up to Price's trial, Price took the opportunity to submit a sample of the evidence he and Kate had been holding for Doc, comprehensively showing the corruption of Racing Queensland, the collusion between Racing Queensland and the RSPCA, the connections and influence Racing Queensland possesses over councils, law enforcement, and the courts, and how all of the events of the past 4 years were typical intimidation tactics used by Racing Queensland to protect against threats to their race-fixing enterprise. But the evidence submission was refused.
Last time I was here, Your Honour said that I was able to explain myself about the situation, which I haven't been given the opportunity to.
No, of course not. That's what a trial's for. Are you pleading guilty or not guilty?
No, I'm not pleading at all because, one, I asked for clear jurisdiction of the court, and apparently there is jurisdiction, but then I asked for proof and I haven't received any.
You might need to read the Queensland Constitution.
Yeah, but it doesn't override the Commonwealth Constitution.
Mr. Hill, I won't be engaging in that argument. As far as I'm concerned, this court has jurisdiction.
I just need proof, that's
Sure.
it. Yep.
I won't be giving you proof, but my view is we have jurisdiction. You can plead not guilty, which is fine, and then you can come.
Well, Your Honour already pleaded not guilty for me.
Well, I haven't. When was that?
Not last hearing, the hearing before, which was on phone, by phone.
Have you got a proof of evidence? Has a proof of evidence been provided?
Yes, so it's all been fully disclosed now and we're
Yeah.
ready to proceed to a hearing date.
All right. Are you ready to list this for trial then?
Whatever you've got to do, if this court's not got jurisdiction, which I believe it hasn't because you can't provide the evidence or proof, and I understand, Your Honour, that you don't have to, but...
And I won't be.
Okay.
So I'm not going to hear that argument about whether this court has jurisdiction.
Yep.
I'm proceeding that we do. I won't hear any evidence outside the facts in issue in this trial. There's no fact finding made yet.
The fact, well,
Just
there is
listen.
under police powers.
No, just listen. You know, get your nose out of the internet. Look, listen, just listen. Look, do you intend to plead not? Are you pleading guilty to these offences?
Your Honour's already said I was not guilty to...
Well, okay, I'll give you another opportunity. Okay? You tell me today, are you guilty or not guilty?
I can't make that call until I get jurisdiction.
All right. Defendant won't plead, so it means we have to have a trial.
That's
Okay?
fine.
Well, there's only one way to settle this out, Mr.
Yep,
Hill,
yep,
and that'll be a trial.
yep.
Again, I won't be entertaining anything outside these 4 charges, won't be entertaining jurisdiction. It will simply be a trial on these 4 charges. If you don't accept that, you can appeal.
I'll just appeal, yes.
And on appeal, you can
Yes.
you can say this magistrate didn't have jurisdiction. That's a matter for you.
But did you swear an oath to the Queen, Your Honour?
But what I'm saying,
That's what I was just wondering, because that's
I don't-
how it gives...
Look, I don't answer questions. And how many witnesses? Well, you don't have to tell me because, as a defence, you don't have to.
2, Your Honour.
There should be 3. That was one
2,
thing.
Your Honour.
2 witnesses. All right.
3. What about the officer that did the search on me
As I
without my
explained to
consent?
you,
There was another officer there.
Mr. Hill,
I've asked that.
part of you,
Mr.
you
Hill,
summoned
this
to
isn't-
I've given disclosure.
Mr. Hill,
I've got nothing.
Mr. Hill, I'm not interested in your discussions with the prosecutor. Have those on the phone, outside of court, not while we're in court, okay? Anyhow, summary trial, 2nd of June, we'll kick off at 9, we'll get it done, and then you'll have your day in court, okay? And I'll give this, I'll give that one to you back. Give that back. It's inappropriate for any court matter to be on a court trial.
So you're this here and this evidence. I think there was another one too that got sent during the week. It was a witness statement, and
Yes, that was forwarded on to me, Your Honour, and it was inappropriate to give to the court.
I'm just trying to avoid having to go to trial. And if you choose to disobey that or disregard it, and that's your.
Mr. Hill, I won't. It's not on the court file, and it won't make its way to a court file.
It will when I be here, sir. It will when I be here. It'll be sworn in.
No,
It has to. That's evidence.
that's not how evidence works. Just in civil matters, you can give evidence by way of affidavit, not in criminal matters.
I still need disclosure. I've got nothing from the prosecution. Like
But you got the brief.
the third officer. Where is he? What's his name?
Well, they're not calling him. Okay.
Well, I'm calling him.
Well, you do that. I'll leave that in your hands. But
Well, I've asked for disclosure of his name and badge number.
all right. Well, that's outside of what I'm determining today. So this matter's finished now. It's adjourned for the summary trial on the 2nd of June. Thanks for your appearance, Mr. Hill. We'll see you on the 2nd of June.
You won the case with the false bloody speeding.
Yeah.
That was a complete setup when you got arrested.
As the QCAT appeal was nearing the date of its hearing, Price and Kate took the next opportunity to submit samples of the evidence they had been holding for Doc. But once again, the evidence was completely ignored at the appeal. And after legal proceedings that lasted for more than 4 years, Maggie and Max's destruction order by the Gympie Council was eventually confirmed. Maggie and Max were euthanized. By this point, the legitimacy of Maggie and Max's impoundment, regulation and destruction had become severely compromised, raising a substantial number of alarming questions. Given his clear motive to cause anguish to Price and Kate, was Bob responsible for Maggie and Max's escape on the morning of their seizure? Why was the Gympie Council so quick to declare Maggie and Max responsible for the death of Buff despite no evidence to support their guilt? Was Buff's death part of a setup to frame Maggie and Max and assault the livelihoods of Price and Kate? Why was the evidence that would have exonerated Maggie and Max ignored by the Gympie Council and by QCAT? Why was Maggie and Max's handling by the RSPCA completely non-compliant with regulated dog legislation? Why did Peter Boyce suddenly remove himself from Price and Kate's appeal case? Why did Dan Rogers return Doc's evidence with the fervent assertion that he had not viewed it after a week of having it in his possession? Why did police display complete ignorance of the requirement for safety whilst handling a horse float, aggressively arresting Price despite his compliant intent, and leaving Kate, his 50-kilogram partner, to handle an upset 600-kilogram animal? Why did QCAT proceedings drag on for an unprecedented 4 years? And why was Doc's comprehensive body of evidence completely left out of legal proceedings? In May of 2022, Doc had managed to make contact with Hugh Carter, barrister at law, serving in the Office of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Services in Brisbane for Senators Malcolm Roberts and Pauline Hanson. This was during the time that Senator Roberts had been publicly raising the issues of RSPCA corruption. In a voice conference with Hugh, Doc was able to discuss the matter of Maggie and Max's impoundment and its relation to RSPCA and Racing Queensland corruption, as well as the harassment both himself and Price and Kate had suffered as a result.
Yeah, Doc Jamieson here, mate. How are you?
I'm good.
What this is all about My mate Price Hill and Kate Hill was sitting on evidence corruption against the RSPCA.
Yes.
And they found out that he was sitting on the evidence at his place and his dogs were let out, and it was more like a payback.
Right.
And this is big evidence of Laurie Statesman was the inspector that's on TV, that the RSPCA tips off Racing Queensland when they're going to do a raid. It's a lot of corruption sort of stuff, mate. So it was a vendetta why they took his dogs and then said that his dogs killed this other dog. They were impounded for 4 years. I was doing a...
Why for 4 years?
Well, it was harassment to the highest level, you know. So Pricey and Kate asked me, would I investigate what's happened with their dogs? So I ended up getting back in there with Dan Rogers, and we talked about everything. That's why they didn't want my evidence in the court, and it was filed. I have all the evidence, the proof. Dan Rogers had the evidence of all the cover-ups.
And why did the magistrate refuse to look at it or consider it?
Because it would open an inquiry into Dan Rogers in the RSPCA and the council.
So?
That's right.
So what was put to the magistrate? Are you suggesting the magistrate was corrupt too?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I could put the stuff together for you, a copy of it.
How long ago did this happen?
Oh, this is, how long ago was this, Joe? The dogs have only just been put down, haven't they?
Yeah, it was only
have they been put down?
Yeah, we don't know for sure they've been put down.
Or have they been sold, you know?
Yeah, put together a dossier, if you like,
yes.
that has the evidence in it.
I tried to get stuff to Pauline in the Senate, and it all got sent back to me.
Okay, well.
Yeah. I had some real big...
Should have come to me. Send it back to me if you've still got it.
Yep. I will.
Okay, let's do something with it.
We will.
Doc arranged with Hugh for the submission of an evidence package which was served to Hugh's office 2 months later in July. This was Doc's fourth evidence submission to Senator Pauline Hanson's office since 2013, and to this day Doc has still received no replies. Since the inception of the Phoenix Taskforce, Doc Jamieson has laboured for more than 45 years compiling incriminating evidence of mass corruption and collusion, providing authorities with everything they need to put a permanent stop to live animal baiting, mass greyhound killings, and board stewards and officials concealing their ownership of greyhounds and fixing races for their own gain. Senators and law enforcement across the entire country, the Crime and Corruption Commission, the Attorney General's office, and even the Governor General all have the evidence. But no one has lifted a finger, because those that can have their fingers deep into the race-fixing pie. So now we're putting authorities on notice, cracking open Pandora's box, and taking the evidence public. The government is the only shareholder of the greyhound racing industry, and with hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars being invested each year, greyhound racing isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But we can sure clean it up. In its current state, greyhound racing is little more than a lucrative race-fixing racket. But Doc Jamieson has already proven that racing greyhounds can be good, clean sport by producing the fastest greyhounds the industry has ever seen, with nothing but love, good chiro, and ice cream. Yep, ice cream. No animal cruelty required. Doc's animals were poisoned and he was booted from the industry because he was too honest and his greyhounds were unbeatable. Our ultimate goal is nothing short of a royal commission into the cover-ups and corruption of the greyhound racing industry and its criminal connections. To this end, we're calling on all greyhound owners, trainers, punters, all honest and just members of authority, and the public, anyone who knows anything about greyhound racing cover-ups and corruption in Queensland, to come forward and help us clean up the industry so that no more animals need to share the same fate as Maggie and Max. Lend us your voice by signing our petition. Share this video far and wide and join us on Twitter to help spread the word as we continue pulling out the big guns and exposing greyhound racing corruption. And brace yourself, because from what we've seen in the short time since we've begun posting content online, the wheels are coming off the wagon.